Welcome to the Homeschool Show, brought to you by North Carolinians for Home Education, where we want you to homeschool with confidence and joy. I'm Amanda Wares, your host for this season, and today I have with me a special guest and co-host, Matthew McDill. How you doing?
Hey, Amanda, doing great.
Good, very good. I have a question for you. So, one of the things that Melanie and I have been doing on some other episodes is what questions, what are we seeing on the internet lately?
Okay.
So, lately, I have been seeing questions about naming your homeschool and changing the name of your homeschool. So, my
Okay.
question for you is, what is the name of your homeschool?
Oh, it's super creative. It's McDill Academy.
Oh my goodness, that's hilarious. And so you've been homeschooling about as long as I have. Have you ever, or has Dana ever wanted to change the name of your homeschool, or has it never been an issue?
Yeah, it's never really been brought up. I think we just put it in the books and we're like, okay, that's it. Never looked back.
Okay. So because the reason I asked this question today is people out in Facebook land were asking,
Hmm.
if I close my homeschool and reopen it, can I change the name?
Oh,
The
interesting.
answer, yeah, the answer for all of you out there, if you're wondering, is no, you
Oh,
cannot.
really? Okay. I didn't know that.
No, because if you close your homeschool um, and reopen it within, I think it's like 5 years,
Hmm.
it just reopens the same school again. So
Right.
it's just the same name. So
Wow. I
there
didn't
you
really
go.
know that. That's new info.
It is new info. And that's why I always tell people, even if you think you're only going to homeschool for a year or a couple months, doesn't matter. Make sure that name is something you're happy with and will be okay on a transcript or a diploma because you just never know.
What's interesting
'Cause-
is I used to always look at like the statistics on the most popular blog post on NCHE.
Mhm.
And the most popular blog post was that one written by Jessica about picking your name and
Yes.
how to think about it and not go silly on us and, all of this kind of thing. So there's a great blog post that people really enjoy that will help you think through it if you want to check it out on nche.com.
It's awesome. And yes, it's so true because I mean, it is stressful when you think of it that way. Like, oh, I can't change this ever.
Right.
We want to pick something good.
Hmm.
It can be a little stressful. Now, tell us. So, a lot of people that have been a fan of the show for the past several seasons know you already. They're familiar with you. But can you tell us? Maybe we have some new watchers and listeners, or maybe they just don't know exactly what your role is within CHE. So, tell us a little bit about that. And also, maybe like, how did you even get involved with NCHE in leadership in the first place?
Hmm. Okay, sure. So it was not quite 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago now, that Dana and I started going to the conference, and it wasn't called Thrive that then. So anyway, the homeschool conference, and we got hooked. We loved it so much, and we just never miss now. And so we've been every year. Eventually, I started getting to know people there. I started getting to know people on the board, and um, I think the first thing I ever did was I wrote an article for the greenhouse. And then I saw people doing workshops and I was like, I want to do a workshop, I got stuff to say, so I talked to Debbie and the people, and so I applied for a workshop. And so for a few years I was doing that before I was asked to be Region 2 liaison. So
Okay.
that was about 10 years ago that I started as a liaison, did that for maybe about a year and a half. But then the president of the board moved, and kind of halfway through, I was invited to be president of the board.
Oh, wow.
So no, I skipped one. I was the media director
That's right.
for a year, and
Yes.
then I was invited to be president. That's right. So I've been president for about 8 years, and now I've been executive director for 6 years. So I'm still president, kind of that volunteer position on the board. Executive director is a full-time job position that actually did not exist um, at the time that I was hired. It used to exist a long time ago, but we haven't had an executive director. And so we as a board decided that that would be really important that we had somebody who is actually working on and thinking about leading NCHE full time.
Uh,
I know I, as president, felt like we're not able to do this as a volunteer board. And so the board voted to create that position and hired me. So I've been doing that full time for the last 6 years.
Time definitely flies because I don't feel like it's been 6 years.
Yeah, I know. I don't
So
either.
that's so quick.
It's
Wow.
crazy.
Wow. Wow. That's wild. And it's interesting. I know a bunch of us just went to a national homeschool leadership conference, and I felt like I was a cheerleader the whole week because I was always saying, well, our executive director, Matthew McDill, does this and this and this, and he's so great. So
Thanks. Love having cheerleaders.
I know it was for sure. That is so cool. And so you said, obviously, 20 years ago, you and Dana came to the homeschool conference and have never missed. But did you, when did you guys decide to homeschool? How did that happen?
Well, and we first, when we came to the conference was like the year right before our oldest was about to be probably kindergarten age, right? So we were thinking, oh, we're starting school.
Mhm.
um, I think probably in college, Dana and I went to college together. And I think one of the big parts in our thinking development was our Sunday school class teacher, because we both went to the same church. We were in a pretty large Sunday school class, college
Okay.
class. And our Sunday school teacher and his wife homeschooled their kids. So we would go over
Mm,
to their home for Bible study and we would see them,
mm.
we would see what they were doing. And sometimes if the college kids were still hanging around after Bible study because we didn't want to leave, and then they would have family devotion and they'd say, all right, y'all come in, and they would invite us and we would just sit there and watch them. And we were like, this is so awesome. You know, just the dynamic of the family. And then Dana and I also met some other different families at the time who were homeschooling that just really impressed us. So um, interestingly, for the first 4 years of our marriage, Dana was a public school math high school teacher.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
and so we had already decided we would homeschool, but if she needed any more motivation, she got it because being in that high school context as a teacher was really enlightening
Oh,
and
for
not in a
sure.
good way. And she's like, there's no way we're putting our kids in here.
There you go. Oh my goodness. Wow. And so you've never looked back, and here
That's
you
right.
are 20 years later, I think. I think that you
Right.
guys have schooled as long as I have, 20 years.
Hmm.
Wow. I love it's my one of my favorite things to hear people's stories of how they come to the idea of wanting to homeschool or learning about homeschooling or whatever, because it's always so different. Everyone has a little bit
Yeah.
different of
Hmm.
a story. And I
Right.
think it's great. It's so neat. Very cool. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I like to share every episode. I like to have a little homeschool helps with Amanda. It's not really its own separate segment anymore, but I still
Hmm.
share every week. And this week it is inspired by a conversation I had with a brand new homeschool mom. She had just finished her first year of homeschooling, and she asked me about grading, like giving grades
Mm.
to children and also saving work. So I'm curious how you guys approach this as well, but I'll share how I approach it. So my personal philosophy, I guess, on grades is grades are very arbitrary. And a lot of times in a public school or private school setting, the grades that are given are really just so the teacher can know what that student knows or doesn't know. Because if they're in there with 20 or however many
Hmm.
students, they don't necessarily know how the kids are doing. So these grades are to help the teacher. In a homeschool setting, especially in elementary school and even into middle school, I don't feel like grades do any good. They don't give us any information that we don't already have. I know perfectly well that my little person doesn't understand whatever that concept in math is or really knows the spelling words or whatever it is, you know? So that's my personal philosophy on grading. I don't give any grades really at all until high school.
Hmm.
That's just how I roll. It's how I've always done it. And it's kind of what I recommend to other people too. And then the saving work thing. As I told this mom, I am not a saver. My my family would tell you in our house, if you don't want it to get thrown out, you better put it somewhere I can't find it because
Yeah.
I am a tosser. So I have never saved work.
Okay.
Like as far as like the individual like math worksheets or
Oh, yeah.
whatever. I don't save any of that. I save what the law says I have to have on file.
Hmm.
I save test results. I do have all the test results from all the 20 years, but other than that, I don't save things. What do you guys do?
Well, as far as the grades, it's the same. There's no grades of any kind before high school.
Mhm.
And even high school feels sometimes arbitrary unless you have a somewhat elaborate system of, well, I'm grading each of these quizzes or each of these papers. And it is helpful if you want to have somewhat accurate grades to have those kinds of curriculum where that's kind of built in, where they explain, oh, well, if you're doing this course, then here are these quizzes and you can weight them this much. And when you're creating it yourself, I mean, you can create that stuff, but sometimes it's hard to figure out, well, how do I want to do this? Unless you're experienced with teaching and things like that, you know?
True.
So some of those are helpful, but so sometimes it still feels arbitrary if you don't have a system for grading, you know? Um,
Right.
but like you said, when you're in high school, if you're going to build a transcript, what you should do, kind of just in case, you don't know what they might want to do. I've had some of my kids say, "Oh yeah, I'm not going to college. I don't want to do a transcript, you know." And then that's not right. They do. You're like,
Exactly. You
"Uh-oh."
never know sometimes. That's
Yeah.
right.
So you want to have them. So yeah, you got to have those grades. And, like you said, it ends up kind of being based on I've seen their work, I've seen their effort, and I've seen their growth. And I'm able to say, that was above average or that was excellent,
Yes.
or on this one, you know what? You didn't do that great. I mean, you passed or you did
Hmm.
better than average, but so I think parents know as a teacher who's working
Yes.
with the student what to give them. And of course you should for high school if you want to build that transcript.
Right. And what about, do you guys save
Oh
work?
yeah,
Do you
saving.
guys?
Um,
Yeah.
I think, Dana saves the cute stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
Some of the artwork or like samples. But at one point, I remember this. At one point, we found she was trying to save it first, and we found like these file folders just piled with every drawing.
Oh,
And
yeah.
she's like, this is crazy. Like, we're never gonna. So, what she did is she took samples. So, she said, you know what? I'm gonna just take a few samples of this grade in case that's
Mhm.
interesting to us so that we see, oh, these are some of the things they did. And oh, isn't this artwork cute? And like we're getting rid of the rest. So not big savers, but there might be a few little things that could be cool to save.
Yeah,
Now,
for
Debbie,
sure.
we have to let Debbie speak here because Debbie saves everything, I think. I think she says that, especially for high school. Is that, if
Okay.
that's true?
I don't know. I'm gonna have
We'll
to
have to
ask her
find
when
out.
it
I think she does.
when it's her turn. So this is
Okay,
starting
yeah,
a
you ask her.
series. This is starting a series where I'm going to have each one of NCHE's board members on as guests and co-hosts. So when it's Debbie's turn, we're going to talk about this.
That would be
We'll
great.
find out. That's awesome. Well, okay. So moving on to our last little segment that I always like to talk a little bit about what is going on with NCHE. There's always a lot going on. Um, and right now we have a few things that are coming up. First off, the Moms Retreat. We've been talking about the Moms Retreat for weeks now, and I hope that you are getting inspired out there, moms, to come to the Moms Retreat. It is not too late to register and come. It is going to be a great time. And Mr. Matthew McDill's wife, Dana, the awesome Dana, she is one of the speakers and she's incredible. So you don't want to miss out for sure. So that's going to be a great time. And then on October the 1st, the registration for the hotels for Thrive, the hotel blocks, the discount, that starts on October 1st. And sometimes these hotels fill up really quick. So you don't want to miss out on that either. You want to make sure you book those hotel rooms.
Yeah, we might as well make
Last,
a plug. I remember back
yeah.
20 years ago, when we started, and we're like, okay, we're going to save money. And probably we did need to save money, and that's fine. And so we would drive, we'd get the cheapest hotel within 20 minutes or 15 minutes, and we'd have to drive back and forth. And then for some reason, we had the luxurious opportunity to stay there, and we were like, oh, yes, we're never, it's worth it. So
Really?
just to make
Yes,
that
I know.
recommendation, it's really
That
worth
is
it.
so true. That's a great point. And it is so wonderful, either as, you know, a little mom getaway to be able to plan and get inspired for the next homeschool year, or for a couple, a little couples weekend. That's super fun. And then I messed up one year when our oldest was old enough to go to the teen events,
Hmm.
the teen dance and the teen games. And we started bringing our teenagers with us. And once they came, then they didn't want to miss either. So it was
Yeah,
no longer a couples getaway. Now it
right.
was couples and teens.
Yep. Yeah, that changes it.
It's true. But once you do stay right there where it's connected, you don't even have to go outside. You don't have to drive anywhere. You can just, you go shopping in the vendor hall. You can take your purchases back to
Right.
your room. It's so nice. It really is.
That's
So
right. It's
awesome.
great.
And then one last thing, last but not least, we have a new field trip. So this is super fun. I have actually not been here. I think I've been to all the other field trips, but this one is a new one. So in Winston-Salem, they have redone the Children's Museum. I think it's called the Callidium. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but it's all brand new and super
Hmm.
fun, wonderful. That field trip is happening on October 31st, and registration is open now. So go check it out. It looks really fun.
Yeah, it does. Looks fun. And that's in our town, so maybe we can make it.
I know. I might have to borrow a younger child because I'm pretty sure my 15-year-old thinks he's too old for
Yeah.
a
I
children's
I might
museum.
have an
But
extra younger child. You
there
can
you
borrow it,
go.
if you need an excuse.
That would be great. All right. Do you have any parting thoughts for our listeners today or watchers?
I don't think so. Thought, as you mentioned, that Dana will be at the mom's retreat.
Mhm.
Reflecting recently on the, oh, actually, we can announce this. There is a mini conference
Yes, yes,
in
yes.
Asheville
Yes.
um, coming up. trying to remember when the date of that is, but October 19th.
Okay.
And you we were looking at some of the workshops that we do, and because Dana and I will be there at that also. And anyway, Dana's workshops are always to try to encourage you when you're discouraged. That's one of the main things. She talks about different things.
Mhm.
So I think that's helpful to remember that to go to a mini conference, to go to the mom's retreat, to go to the conference, is really helpful to be encouraged, because the fact is we get a little lost in our busyness. We get
So true.
discouraged. We get like, I don't know if I'm doing this right, or I'm not sure this is working. And, it's just, and to be around other people and to hear those things, it's just a way of um, giving yourself what you need to be able to
Yeah.
do well and to serve well. And so don't fall into the, well, I don't have the time or the energy or the money, because we have to invest in making sure we're
Mhm.
doing our best and like our continuing education so that we're doing a good job. And it's an investment, yes, but it's really needed and it's worth it. So I just mentioned that and encouraging all the different opportunities that are there to take advantage of.
That's so good. I love it. That's awesome. Thank you for reminding me about the mini conference coming up because I'm so excited about it and I totally slipped my mind.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Thank you. So now, as always, you guys, if you have any questions, you have anything you want to say, please feel free to reach out at the homeschool show at nche.com. Share with your friends, like and subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And like we say every single time, we are here to help you homeschool with confidence and joy. So have a great week. Bye bye.